So I would just get texts
Oh my God.
all the time. It's midnight, I'm in Soho, where should I go? I'd be like, why don't you look at that site I built?
Yeah.
And look, when we sold it, it was 1 in 6 Londoners a month were using it, which is crazy.
What?
Nick founded the business DesignMyNight, which I'm sure if in the UK you've heard of and used, is the equivalent of Time Out. He scaled that business from literally zero to a large exit, which we'll be talking about.
And then they came back and said, look, this is the final bid, take it or leave it. Our lawyer phoned us and said, okay, it's go time. So can you get to their lawyer's office? And then they had a whole floor for us, which was quite cool. Like we were in one room, the acquirers in the other. The lawyers were still...
Oh, it's like the movie scenes.
It was pretty cool.
Wow. I want to ask you 2 questions, actually. First is how you figured out what that number is that you wanted to try and achieve when you sold.
Okay, if you're never going to earn any money again, this is when it runs out or it doesn't run out. We just charted back from that lifestyle, and it did get to actually a similar-ish number.
What was that number?
Welcome to Happy Millionaire,
A show about how to make profit with a positive impact.
and stay happy along the way.
Today's topic is about exiting your company and also finding your passion.
We're going to talk about pivoting a business into SaaS, dealing with copycat competition, how much money is enough, plus creating time in a busy schedule.
Nick founded the business DesignMyNight, which I'm sure if in the UK you've heard of and used, is the equivalent of Time Out. And basically, he scaled that business from literally zero to a large exit, which we'll be talking about. He's also invested in nearly 50 different startups, companies that we've all heard of. At the same time, he also creates his own companies and has his own podcast.
Nick also shares how he came up with his magic number and how much money he needs to live his lifestyle. Plus, we also talk about how Nick's sale almost fell through in the last couple of hours of the exit.
All right, so the first place I want to start is DesignMyNight, right? How did that idea come about?
So it was a copycat, sort of. So Andrew, my co-founder, and I were in New York, and we just were really drunk on a night out in a place called...
You're not holding back today.
To be honest, there's a place called Benny's Burritos, and they do really strong frozen margaritas. So we don't really remember like who came up with the idea or how it formulated, but for that night out, we saw a website that was promoted around drinks offers, which is bigger in America than it is here. We've got happy hours. And we were just like, oh, wouldn't it be good to do something like that in London? And all the price comparison sites were launching at that time. We were like, maybe we can do a price comparison site because London, obviously, you've got big ranges. And then, we just started researching it and realised Time Out can never sort of do digital well. They still sort of haven't nailed it. So we were like, okay, well, maybe we can disrupt it, make it for millennials, digital first, which sounds crazy, but it was 2010. And that's how the seed came.
Do you know what's so funny, right? Because I used to use DesignMyNight all the time and I still do. It's great. So I always thought the guy who built DesignMyNight must be the most party animal, crazy, wild person. Like, who is this guy?
And then you met this loser.
I'm thinking, I was like, so did you scat a lot? Like when you were
Not
young?
really.
No? Okay.
Like, actually, I wasn't a party animal. And
your co-founder?
he was a bit more of a
Okay.
party animal.
Okay.
I think uni, we partied quite a lot, obviously.
Okay. So we went uni together, right?
Yeah, we met
Okay.
week 1 at university.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
I sort of now am mourning at the moment. I just went to Ibiza a few weekends ago because I'm mourning the loss of like my mid-20s.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Oh, you did.
I want to go and have that fun now. Because we were just head down, didn't go out. The team were going out on reviews and stuff, but not us two. So
This wasn't an ordinary like startup you see on TechCrunch where it goes from like 1 to a billion in like this was a very well run operation, right? You guys ran it so well for 10 years. It felt like it was a very tough journey. Like, could you have done it when you reflect back? How could you have been maybe happier in that journey? Because I know you always say it was really hard on me, Jay.
yeah, look, we only ever raised $500,000. So we ran it very leanly. We didn't hire like superstars because we couldn't afford those salaries. So we hired junior and built them up in the company, worked very hard on growing them in our mold, which works amazingly because then all of our managers had been working with us for years. I think the biggest mistake we made, which would have made us happier, was we were so involved until the end, and our acquirers access. That's one of the things they said when they acquired us. They were like, wow, like you've got 120 people and you guys are just so involved in everything. Like as a negative, they were like, this is not good because you're not going to be in this business forever. So the next 2 years on our earn out, you guys need to like untangle yourself from the weeds of everything. And that was just stress. So, we were still looking at customer complaints on the SaaS side and the B2C side. We were essentially the product managers, and we had 3 SaaS products. We were managing the team. We didn't have HR. So, with 100, 120 people every day, there's something.
Wow, no HR.
No HR.
No HR at all.
It's us two.
And they're all going out getting drunk. Oh my God, I'd hate to know some of the stories.
Yeah.
Like I had some crazy things happen in my startups. Like I don't even want to know what happened in yours.
Yeah, I think it would be an uncensored version of
another
this
episode.
podcast. Yeah.
Imagine the excuses on Monday morning. Like, you sent me out to review these bars the whole weekend.
You gave us free drinks. What do you expect? There was quite a few stories actually. So I think we just took a lot on.
You were 25. How did you know even how to lead? And you were like teaching, the younger guys coming in about how to become managers themselves. Like, where were you getting your information from?
Yeah, it's a fair question. We did have a couple of advisors that actually became our investors. So they were advisors first and then invested. One of them was the head of entrepreneurship at London Business School.
Oh, right.
So he was a big help.
Are those guys any good? Because when they're like studying, I always find like you're not actually in the trenches.
It's true. So he was very like by the book.
Yeah.
Like we were away with the fairies, but he
fair.
always sort of grounded us, and then we met
Shook
in the
you guys.
middle.
Wake up, guys.
Yeah, like what are you doing? And we were young, but I'd worked at L'Oreal straight out of uni, and I worked my way up to marketing manager quite quickly there.
Right.
So I had a team there. Andrew was Accenture. So, he had to sort of know how to conduct himself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think we could have been a lot better, but I think we just went in with just respect. We part of the team. We almost wanted to be everyone's big brother, which I think was part of the problem. But we were just like, look, we're there for you. We want to help you grow. You can tell us anything. Let's see what happens. So that was sort of our mantra.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know, like, what's it like having a website that literally millions of people are going to every day? Because, like, for one's ego, it must be pretty incredible. It's like, oh yeah, literally all my friends' nightlife is based around like what I've built. That's pretty cool. Like, what was that feeling like?
I think in the earlier years when it was smaller but growing fast, it was more exciting. We're like, oh wow, there's 10,000 on it. There's 20,000 on it. Ironically, our friends would still text us. So I would just get texts all the time. It's midnight. I'm in Soho. Where should I go? I'd be like, why don't you look at that site I built?
Yeah.
And look, when we sold it, it was 1 in 6 Londoners a month were using it, which is crazy.
What? 1 in 6 Londoners.
So
that's incredible.
It became a big site.
It's still very popular now.
It's still super popular. Yeah, from what I get, I'm not involved with it at all now. But obviously post COVID, it's sort of come back again.
Yeah.
It was SEO. So the beauty of SEO is it sort of never goes away.
Yeah.
So actually the traffic's just constant.
You must have loads of copycats though, surely, during that time. You must have seen like DesignMyNight, like, oh yeah, we can do that better, or we can take a niche or whatever.
Yeah, there was a lot, and they sort of made noise, which was frustrating. But we knew in the long run they didn't have a viable business. So it was when we pivoted to SaaS that we sort of killed that market.
So like software for
bars. Hospitality. Yeah. And then that created our flywheel with the B2C, creating a viable big business just as a discovery platform that Time Out have tried to figure out. It's just not possible. So you just become this content platform which just becomes really hard to monetize. So we saw like 3 or 4 make a lot of noise. They were the cool kids on the block. We just kept our head down. We were like, we just know they won't last.
Yeah.
And we became sort of like the big ugly brother. We weren't even trying to be cool, but we were like, we just know we've covered the whole market.
Discipline, right? It was just you guys are disciplined.
Yeah, super disciplined. We didn't go to like founder meetups, even though our office was in Shoreditch. Like we didn't go to like Silicon Roundabout stuff. I wasn't posting on LinkedIn while I was at DesignMyNight. We were both very like head down founders. We know what we need to do. This business is working. It can be extremely profitable. Let's just get it done.
I was a bit like you in Udify. That's exactly how I did. I was just head down.
Yeah.
Didn't really go to these founder events, and you'd get invitations to them. I knew it was just about executing, right?
Yeah.
It feels like you were on the same journey. It was just about head down executing. And I'm curious, actually, why didn't Time Out buy you guys?
Couldn't afford us.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I don't want to slag off Time Out, but they haven't got that much. And nowhere near enough money to pay for DesignMyNight.
So what was the process like on the exit? Because, I love the fact that you're so open about it, right? And not many founders get the opportunity to actually have an exit. So what was that process like? I'd love to know that process, but also what I'm really intrigued to know is once that money got wired, like what happened emotionally, because I know we've had chats about it. But yeah, why don't you tell us a bit more about like the experience of selling the company?
So we engaged a broker about 8 months out from when we thought that our revenue and EBIT would be in a position to get the multiple that we wanted, to get the amount of cash that Andrew and I wanted.
So you had a magic number.
Had a magic number. Luckily, we were both pretty aligned on that. And we just looked at similar multiples in the industry. We were running at like 48% EBITDA margin as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were sort of spitting out cash at that stage.
That's
Like a slot machine, a cash machine, ATM.
What were the what was your revenue?
We were doing around, God, what were we doing? We're doing about, when we sold it, about 4-5 million.
Okay. And you talked about this already, but the software was the real unlock for you guys. We had that recurring monthly revenue, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the software for us, not only was it the recurring revenue that was very scalable, and especially in the UK, you've got a lot of groups. So, you could sign up a Young's, pubs, and that's $100,000 contract.
Yeah.
And, so there was quite a lot of almost enterprise contracts in hospitality. So we knew we just had to sort of nail a couple of groups a year, plus just sign up loads of smaller ones. So we could model DesignMyNight pretty accurately. Like, it's quite crazy how we forecasted it, pretty close. And then we engaged a broker. We spent probably about 4 months with them doing the IM. So it was quite a complicated business. So the booking software was a SaaS fee.
Quite a big memo then, investment memo. It's quite a big one.
Yeah, it was a big one. And because you had DesignMyNight, so the B2C arm, you had to explain how that worked and the revenue levers there. We had a booking software, which was just monthly SaaS. We had a ticketing software, which was a clip on the ticket. And then we had a vouchering software, which was a percentage fee. So we had all these different revenue models, all growing at different sizes, all at different stages. So trying to get that across in an IM was quite difficult. So our broker had to work really closely with us, sort of remodeled the business with us, really understood it. And we went back and forward on the IM for ages, got it done. Yeah, it was probably about 100 slides in the end.
Wow.
And how many bidders were interested in? So what was like?
So then he did like a closed. So he said, look, first we're going to just go out and not say it's DesignMyNight, and actually not go to your closest competitors, who ironically would probably be the people that would buy you.
Right.
And we got some nibbles, but nothing concrete. And then he said, okay, let's do the proper funding now, the round, and go out and spoke to all of our competitors, Booking.com, OpenTable, TripAdvisor, Eventbrite, etc. And we had about 3 concrete offers on the table at the
excellent.
end. And obviously that process is long.
Yeah.
So they see and
they hit your magic number.
They went over the magic number,
wow.
which was good. We actually rejected our acquirer's bid 3 times. And then they came back and said, look, this is the final bid, take it or leave it. And it was funny because there was 2 much bigger players who were interested, 1 American, 1 Japanese actually. And our broker said to us, look, a deal can fall through at any time. This offer from Access, like, we know them, they're sort of acquiring monsters, like they will get it done quickly, they won't do lots of due diligence, they've got the cash, they're offering more than you want. So do you want to get greedy and wait for the 2 other players who might offer you quite significantly more, but it might fall through at any time? So he sort of grounded us and was like, look, this is more than you want, and the deal will get done quickly. It was a favourable earn out as well. So just take the deal. So the deal got done pretty quickly. Got it done in about 4 weeks from accepting the offer. It nearly fell through on the last day.
What?
Yeah, we were meant to sign at 8 a.m, 9 a.m, and we signed at about 6, 7 p.m.
What happened?
There was a new EU financial regulation that came out.
Classic government.
Classic. And our lawyer phoned us up that morning. I literally remember where I was sat in my flat when I took that call, and he was like,
this is in your small flat, right?
This was a very small flat in Stoke Newington. And they were like, have you heard of PTDS2, PTS2, whatever. I don't even know what it's called. I blanked it out. And we were like, no. He was like, okay, well, the acquirers want to know how you're going to deal with it. And we were like, well, we don't even know what it is. So we had to. So Stripe handled all our payments at that time, and we were putting hundreds of millions of pounds through Stripe, and we were one of their first big customers. So they looked after us really well. And we spoke to our account manager. And he was like, we couldn't tell him we were getting acquired either. So we were like, look, we need to get you on a call.
This is important, but I can't tell you why.
I can't tell you why. We were like, all of our investors are on the call and our chairman and stuff. So can you, just explain this regulation?
Like 22-year-old account manager on the call. It's like,
he earned his money. He earned his salary that day. I'll tell you that. And he did it. They asked him questions. He replied, put the phone down, didn't hear anything for a few hours. And then our lawyer phoned us and said, okay, it's go time. So can you get to their lawyer's office in the city? And then they had a whole floor for us, which was quite cool. Like, we were in one room, the acquirers in the other. The lawyers were still...
Oh, it was like the movie scene.
It was pretty cool, yeah. But the lawyers were still going at each other. So we were like, how is this not done yet? Like, so they were
They
still...
need to make some more money, right?
Yeah.
They need to make some more money, the lawyers.
They did all right.
What do you mean they colluded?
They do.
No, mate, just throw some shit in the air and then we'll react.
We were just discussing what they were doing on the weekend, probably. And then that went on for like an hour. And then the head of M&A came into our room. We're like, okay, it's done. We're ready to go. And then we did the signing.
So how long was it until you signed that? And obviously in a payout, you're not going to get all the money. So how long did it take until, because you had due diligence, it's probably 2 months? How long was it until the money was wired?
After signing the deal, I think we got the money like the week later. But we got about 60%. So it was 60% upfront, 40% earn out. But we had to go back on Monday and do our earn out for 2 years. So actually, Andrew and I were sort of elated, but at the same time, like, we're back in the office on Monday to go. So I don't think it really hit us until the end of the actual earn out that we were like fully done.
So was there always something in the back of your mind looming, like, if we don't hit these targets, we're not going to get our earn out? Was that constant stress?
And that was, we became really, it was a revenue target as well. So we just became incredibly focused on what's going to drive us revenue.
Right. Yeah.
So we actually sort of flipped the strategy, which isn't great for the acquirer. But we were just like, when ideas were coming up, we were like, that's not going to make us enough revenue in enough time. We're not doing it.
Right.
So everything we were looking to build or invest in or hire was only things that were going to drive revenue.
Gotcha.
Fortunately for us, we integrated with Google Bookings that year. And I'd been on them for years. So when you Google a restaurant, it just says book now. Yeah. That was just an I cannot tell you, like, we were doing, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of bookings a year through DesignMyNight. The first night, so we turned it on at night because we were like, well, let's just see if it works and doesn't break. So I was up, my CTO was up, Andrew was up. I think that night they did something like 5,000 bookings.
Wow.
Like,
Changed the game.
We had to sort of be like, well, shit, because we charge per cover for our bars and restaurants. Suddenly their bill's going to be like £500 a month to like $5,000 a month. So we just had to just think, okay, let's just reduce that by 80%. Yeah. Can we
slip it in? And
just slip it in, because that will get us to our target, rather than them saying, no, I don't want to take bookings from you anymore.
Totally.
So it was almost too good. And I think Google are going to own that space. So I think in the next 5 years, you won't really have discovery sites. I think it will all be done by Google, So
the likes of OpenTable and Booking.com and all these...
I think it will still be all their software that's powering it. So they need the SaaS. But I just think people will Google. They already are, like bars near me, bars in Soho, best bars in Soho. Yeah. The map comes up, reviews, pictures, menus, bookings. So I think they're going to own that space.
So fast forward 2 years. You've done your 2 years. I don't know how you did that. I could never work for a corporate business. I'm sorry, corporate company. You're never going to be able to hire me. No way in hell. I don't know how you did it. But you did 2 years of that. You're now free, right? You're free. You've your bank account's looking really healthy. You've got your calendar's now empty technically because you don't have anything. So what like in that period, like what were the things that you decided, like, these are the things I want to focus on in this next chapter of my life? Like, and how did you, like, what was that journey like?
That was like the toughest journey, and it sounds like incredibly privileged to say,
Yeah,
but I knew I wanted to do languages at uni. I did it. and I got 2-1, did fine, loved it. I wanted to do marketing. L'Oreal was one of the big marketing schemes then. Got it. Went up to marketing manager. Wanted to do my own startup. Started it. DesignMyNight. 10 years non-stop. Succeeded. And I'd never thought on that journey, like, what do I actually want in life? Like the whole like ikigai, purpose, happiness. I just thought I was happy, and I was happy, but I was just going from day to day trying to win, basically. So when you like wake up that day and you're like, I could technically do nothing for the rest of my life and be fine financially. It was really tough. It was the first sort of depression I felt for like a good week, where I was just really struggled to motivate myself, and I was like just asking myself deep questions that maybe I shouldn't have put off. But I was like, well, what does make me happy? Like, what do I want to do day to day? Like, what does bring me purpose? So just sort of reflecting for the first time on those sort of questions, which I never had done because I was so business minded. So yeah, that was a really, really tough week.
You've just worked literally your ass off for the last 10 years. So you probably don't want to work that hard, but you also want to do something that's meaningful, right? So that's that balance, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming those messages came, and like, what then did you do then? So what were the...
Well, so it was COVID. So we exited Jan 2020.
Oh, great timing.
So,
great timing. I stepped down as CEO in Feb 2020.
Okay.
And that's when I had my moment as well. So technically, if we had hung out, we both could be depressed together.
Through a window.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm actually, believe it or not, quite an insular person. So I actually thrived in COVID. I'm more than happy to sort of be a hermit.
So the guy built DesignMyNight.
I know.
An insular, introverted hermit. I did want to go traveling and stuff, so you couldn't do that. But it was good to just, to think, okay, well, maybe let's accelerate what I was going to do. Let's just do it now. Which was for us, accelerating our angel investing, setting up Horseplay Ventures. We wanted to do a sort of studio model and ideate on businesses and build those and build brands. I had my podcast, which I could still do during lockdown remotely. So it's sort of throwing myself into those different areas. But the things we were thinking about, and when I say we, in this instance, not my other half, but me and Andrew, like my business other half, we were like, well, what do we love doing? And actually, we love building businesses. Like, I get a thrill out of building brands and marketing and selling it and revenue coming in. What didn't we like was building a team, managing an office, managing the crap that comes with that every day. So we were like, well, if we can do an almost like studio model where we can build the brand, ideate it, throw it out there, bring in a CEO to actually run the day to day, and we can do the stuff we like, marketing, brand, product, then that's sort of the best of both worlds. So yeah, we just had a lot of fun throwing around ideas, trying to see ones that stick. And yeah, luckily we had a couple, and then we just started building those out during lockdown.
I want to ask you two questions actually. First is how you figured out what that number is that you wanted to try and achieve and you sold. And the second thing is...
question.
No one's ever asked me that question.
Oh, yeah, because I can imagine the way I thought about it is just looking backwards, like looking at the principal and how much my monthly spend is and what a fat lifestyle looks like for me, security, all those different elements, right? You can just really hash it out. And the other thing is during that period of depression, low mood, or lack of clarity of the future, I wonder how you sort of like you whiteboarded that and how you actually sort of came to determine what your purpose is. And maybe it's like an ever-flowing process where your purpose changes from year to year. So why don't we start off with the first one?
The money.
The
money. Yeah.
I mean, you're not far off. So it was actually speaking to an IFA, and she said, what I want you to do is write down a spreadsheet of all your monthly costs, which I'd never done before in my life. And it's quite scary when you do that. Like, everything. She was like, everything you spend.
Even you're thinking the future. So if you want kids and like...
So this was like, where are you now?
Yeah.
And then she had another tab, which is, what does a great lifestyle look like to you? How much do you want to spend? So, if you're spending $2,000 a year on holidays, okay, if you want to fly business and stay 5-star, you might be spending 20 grand a year on holidays. And then there was a section for like, what big things have you got coming? So you're going to have a wedding. Do you need to buy a car? All things like that. So it makes you think like holistic, okay, well, what do I want? What is a great lifestyle? And putting in property and all of that. And literally summing that all up within reason. And then what she did was plotted that from my net wealth and just put that into a chart and was like, okay, if you're never going to earn any money again, this is when it runs out or it doesn't run out. So great. Andrew has 3 kids, so his runs out way quicker than mine runs out. And then we started putting in, and then she was like, okay, let's look at diversifying. Like, if you're going to diversify, are you going to buy some property? Yes. Okay, let's put some sample property in and see how much money that makes.
Wow, this is really detailed.
And just started like plotting out. It was a great exercise. What your net wealth looks like. And look, Andrew and I both knew that wasn't going to be it anyway. So even if it never ran out, Andrew and I knew, we were confident in our angel investing. We were confident that we were going to go again and build something bigger anyway. So we just charted back from that lifestyle. And it did get to actually a similar-ish number.
That's epic.
Which was quite lucky.
What was their number?
I've never really said how much I took, but let's just say we were like, if we can get anywhere between sort of 6 and 9,
okay,
that's enough to live a lovely lifestyle.
It's quite the common number, right?
I think so,
The classic number is $10 million, right? It's the classic. It's the ones that you've read. And because if you think about it, you're going to put probably a few million to go invest, and that will become your income. You want to probably buy a property, which is going to be X million. And you might also want to have some play money for your investing, and then some you just want to hide underneath the sofa, right?
Yeah.
So 10's a classic number that people say.
I just wanted to get financially free and then never chase money.
Yeah.
I know that the lifestyle I've got now, I could die happy living if I can make more and do some really cool stuff with it and help family and friends more than I have done, then that's also awesome.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really important mindset not to get in, because then you'll just never be happy if you're just
100%.
chasing what's above.
Yeah, if you can't get to that enough level, then you're always going to be chasing the next win, the next high and stuff. And that's why I wanted to ask about the purpose exercise, actually, how you came to that, because I think if people can dial into that now, early, then wherever they get to, where that security point is, they'll be content, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's something I feel like I've sort of already figured out myself in terms of I'm fairly frugal and all the rest of it. But I think, it's something to do before you sort of reach those goals. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I did a lot. So what I do is I sort of talk out loud to myself.
Yeah.
So I think whenever I'm feeling a bit stressed or anxious, that's how I deal with it. So I have conversations with
quite
myself.
Friendly dialogue, or you're quite aggressive with yourself? No, but it's true, because you're a very driven person, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine it's like, come on, do more. So was it like, how's that dialogue?
Yeah, I think it's quite it's just sort of conversational.
Okay, that's good.
And I'm pretty sure I'm a bit ADHD as well. I've never been tested, but I've got quite a lot of the traits. And one of the big things they say if you've got ADHD is get it out of your head and write it down. So I do write a lot. I don't journal or anything, but I write. I've got a notebook with me most of the time, and I like writing down notes rather than on my phone. So I'm always writing down stuff like ideas, things to do, something that pops into my head. But then I do that with my thoughts as well, because I feel like if you just keep it in your head and you're talking to yourself in your head, you're not really dealing with it.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
So I'm like, if I can actually just have a conversation with myself out loud, whether even on a walk or in the garden or whatever, it's a good way to get my thoughts and feelings out. So I was doing that a lot. And I was just looking at areas like, okay, what brings me excitement? What would get me out of bed in the morning? What would help me bring joy day to day to my life and to my friends and family? How can I help others? So I was trying to just deal with all these different themes, but at the same time, I'm a big believer in not overthinking stuff. And I see this in the founder community a lot. And there's a lot of talk around mental health, which is great. And we never had that when I started. And it's really important to recognize mental health. But they've almost created their own bubble of, fuck, this is really difficult. And then if you just stay in that echo chamber of talking about bad mental health, you almost talk yourself into having bad mental health, I think.
It's so funny. I was in this dinner with a bunch of actually on a VC dinner, so loads of venture capitalists, and they said it was the era of like 2010, 2013 or 14. Some of the greatest founders came out of Europe because they were just this hustle. They believed in themselves, and like obviously you and me are in that. Whereas like sometimes this newer cohort, they're just not that hustle vibe or that drive to execute. It's just missing. Yeah,
and it's hard. Like there's no way you can say you're going to meditate and all of that, which is, I think, really important. But it comes down to you are going to have to work your arse off to succeed. It's just a fact. Like you can't get around that.
What about now then? So right now, like, are you working your ass off right now?
Yeah, I tell you what I am doing. I'm working a lot more purposefully now.
Yeah.
So I'm splitting up my time a lot better. I'm saying no to a lot more things. And when I am working, because I'm not managing the team, I can be a lot more effective. So now I don't book any meetings before 10:30, 11. That's me time. So
you do that as well.
There you go.
Yeah, good time.
And then we had a chat about a few things.
Yeah, I think we did.
Voice notes only. When people want a message, I say voice notes only.
Yeah, I do like voice notes. Or they're like, can I hop on a 20-minute call? I'm like, no, I don't want to see blocks in my diary when I open up my diary. It's not going to be a 20-minute call either. So why don't you send me a voice note and I'll get back to you when I can, and I will get back to you. And then it's just booking out chunks of my day to be really purposeful. And so far, with all the different things I'm juggling, I'm like really busy but not stressed, and that feels quite good.
Yeah. You think you're doing less hours of work now?
Yeah, okay, definitely.
Because you know what's really interesting? A lot of people ask me, and like weirdly, Nick and me have got a very similar sort of setup, right? We both have our fund, we invest, we involved in companies, we have our podcast, so we're both very, very similar. Yeah. And I actually find now, in this new phase of my life, I'm getting even more opportunities, more people coming to me. Like, so people think, oh, I made my money, or, you know, I've now done my success, I can chill and relax. But actually, the intensity of people come, it's like 3-5x more.
Yeah.
I'm sure you noticed that as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's also sort of up to you on basically what you want to do next and how you want to interact with people. Like, you can't be everything to everyone at all times. But I thrive on being busy. So, like, I actually enjoy being busy, but I want to be being busy on my own terms.
Yeah.
And not stressed busy. I allow myself to make that conscious effort, where I think before at DesignMyNight, it was just, you never even stop to think. But yeah, I think it's not taking on too much. So, like, we've got Trumpet. We ideated on another one that we're going to be a lot less involved in.
Well, let's talk about Trumpet first.
Yeah, let's talk about Trumpet, because I think I've got your customer.
Okay, nice.
I pitched
So
that.
it's just a sales
I was
pitch.
like, wow, that's awesome.
Now,
I need that.
in like 30-40 seconds, why don't you describe what it does?
So what we tried to do with Trumpet was sort of redo the whole buyer journey from cold outreach to onboarding. So in sales, you've got LinkedIn Navigator, outreach tools, all of those. You've got CRM on the other side. But then in the middle, you've just got sales decks, slides, videos, Loom videos, 50 emails. I think on average, it's 80 emails to close a whole deal. And we were like, it just hasn't been digitized. There's nothing there at all. So I don't think I've said this before, but the idea was originally called Loop, and it was for pitch decks. So what they're basically personalized microsites. So no code microsites that you can create a beautiful looking hyper personalized microsite in minutes without any design. So almost like a Canva for salespeople.
Gotcha.
And then you can interact with your buyer in the microsite to get the deal done. It's all centralized. It's all got notifications running through it. It's integrated to your whole sales stack. But the original idea was, well, sales decks for investment are crap, PDFs, you know, for something where you're meant to be like showing off your vision. It's a very flat 30-year-old tool to use. So we were like, maybe we could do these microsites, and then you could update your investors in the microsites every month as well. But then we were just like, oh, the market probably isn't as big as you'd think it is. You know, when you're in the founder bubble, you think there's loads of startups, but in the grand scheme of things, there's not. And then we thought sales, which is obviously a huge space. So that's when we pivoted it to Trumpet and the sales area. But Andrew and I said, if we're going to do another business, it has to be product-led growth. It has to be instantly global, instantly scalable, and self-serve.
Interesting.
So those are sort of the tick boxes we wanted. Whereas DesignMyNight was very heavy. It was content. It was 3 SaaS. Hospitality is a pain in the arse. It wasn't very instantly scalable at all. And then when we pivoted the idea from Loop to Trumpet, it was. And we were like, wow, okay, this has huge potential.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Cool name as well, right?
Yeah.
It's quite bold. So, you know, like, because we create companies, and it's always, I was very fascinated how you came up with the name Trumpet, because I normally go for a class. My method is normally I get 2 syllables.
Yeah.
And I combine the words. So screen loop,
Screen
reach,
loop,
desk.
yeah.
Even if I was a bit of an odd one, I was very young. I was wearing this bathrobe. I thought I was the man. You know, like the word yield or whatever. I thought, fine. Yeah. But anywho's,
that was quite fashionable back then, like adding FY
exactly.
on
FY,
Spotify, exactly. I think Spotify was after me, so I'm going to claim that one. Because you don't own trumpet.com, the domain, but you did like get Trumpet.
Sendtrumpet.com.
And when you register it, what's the name of the company then? And also now you've got this word Trumpet, which you're never going to win on the SEO.
Yeah.
Like, so what was the reasoning?
We wanted to bring a B2C brand element to a B2B brand. So we looked at a lot of B2B brands that we all use and love, but they're all quite boring. The brands are quite dull. So we were like, we really wanted like a fun brand that we could be cheeky with. We were Googling like loud things, because we were like, the idea of Trumpet is you make noise in your prospect's inbox or their LinkedIn, you know, or you're blowing your own trumpet. The idea is like, making noise.
I love the idea of bringing that sort of like B2C delight to the sales, and B2B, which is quite, you know, generally a melancholic and stoic environment.
Yeah.
And I can see that being like, you know, a word of mouth play as well, because there's so many different like riffs you could do with it, like blow your own trumpet, use our service,
funny
or like
on LinkedIn.
stand out from
On
the
LinkedIn,
crowd.
he's been quite funny. You've given me a few giggles.
We've got like, what have we got? Join the best in brass.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good one.
There you go. Yeah.
And we talk to like our FAQs is our bandstand.
Oh,
and
okay,
everyone is like, everyone that joins it is like a trumpeter, and like, come and join our band.
Oh, you got the cheeky side.
So like, we do like a lot of that. And it's really resonating luckily at the moment. Like the brand itself is getting recognition. You know, like we made these t-shirts, and when we started onboarding everyone slowly and had some like really key users, we sent out the t-shirts with a personalized note. And like, people have just been posting about it like it's a B2C brand, like all over LinkedIn. So yeah, hopefully like that sort of B2C brand element is starting to filter out, and we need to keep going on that. So like, when we will be hiring a head of marketing soon, and it's not just going to be a B2B remit. It's like, how can we keep that flair going?
Yeah, that's epic.
How has your friend circle evolved like recently and over the last few years? Because, you know, you're growing really quickly, and you know, your friend circle normally evolves with your growth, right?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. So I think my core friends I have kept since school and university, and it's a high achieving group. And so I've got my core university group. I've got 3 or 4 friends still from school that we're still super tight, and you know, they're so important to me that I think when we go out for dinner, it's the most natural I ever feel. To be honest, I thought that was my lot, and I was happy with that. But I think especially since exiting, I've met people, you know, like yourself, and sort of other founders, maybe not as successful as yourself, but on the journey, that maybe have asked for my help, but I've just like clicked with. It starts as a different relationship. And I do love talking about business and investing and stuff. So actually, when I go out with them for drinks or whatever, yes, we delve, you know, we go into the more personal stuff, but we're also talking about business a lot. But I actually really thrive off that. You know, I actually really enjoy that, because with sort of my uni and school friends, it's more of just like, oh, how's Trumpet going? But not knowing like the underneath. And I love quizzing them on like what they're up to, what can I learn from them, and digging into what they're up to. So it's sort of a different friendship, but then some of those have evolved into, I class them as good friends now. That is an important part of the happiness part, is finding people that you can bounce off with in different aspects of your life.
Yeah. Finding that sort of ikigai, sorry to go back to that, and that purpose piece, did you find certain materials or certain books or things that you explored during that period of time to sort of solidify what actually made you happy and what makes you happy now?
I think I'm like pretty thoughtful. I'd call myself spiritual, not religious at all, but spiritual, yes. I question things a lot, but I don't actually delve deep in a reading or podcast point of view on like self-help stuff, rightly or wrongly. It's not rocket science to know if you are truly happy or not. And I don't think it's rocket science to find out what makes you happy. I think you just need to question that.
Yeah.
And that's what I never did in my Design My Night days. So I feel like if I go, for me, I know it's about finding peace. And I like my alone time as well. So it's like, where can I find that peace and tranquility? Where can I look after my health? Where can I spend time with my friends and loved ones? And for me, that's as deep as it needs to get. But it's just making sure I take the time to do all of those things.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people look externally for the answers and they go down those self-help rabbit holes. But the irony is the answer is in yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you've skipped that sort of process bit there and you've gone right to the answer by just listening to yourself and figuring it out.
And you might then discover yoga or meditation or retreats or gym and exercise and whatever. But I think everyone needs stillness and calm in their life. I think everyone needs love in their life, wherever that comes from. And everyone needs purpose in their life. So I think if you just question yourself, how do I get those three things? And it is constantly evolving, of course, then I feel like that puts you on quite a good... And look, you've also then got to accept that life is shit. Life is hard. Life is hard. Like, you're not always going to be happy. You're not always going to be content. You're not always going to be not stressed. Like, shit does happen in life, no matter whether you're rich or not, or successful or not. So I think it's just accepting that as well.
Yeah.
And then just being able to like bounce back when that shit happens as well.
Yeah. Totally.
Really appreciate you being part of this, and you're a good friend. So thanks a lot for hanging out with us, and hopefully he'll buy some Trumpet from you.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll send you the sales pitch after.
We'll get some t-shirts, right?
Only if you post about them.
Fine.